Hello everyone, it's Mike. Welcome back to Hills and Hollers Homestead. Today I'm getting ready for deer season, and I know it sounds a little bit late considering deer season starts Monday. But with work schedules, weather, and everything else like that, plus all the chores and stuff we've been trying to get caught up on, and all the firewood and everything like that, today's a beautiful day. Hit just about 72 here, which is really odd for late November, but nice nonetheless. So it gave me an opportunity to come out here, and I changed type of ammo that I'm shooting this year with hunting season. For years I've shot a 270. I mean, since I was like 14, I've shot at 14, 15, I've shot a 270 and or 308. 270 is my preferred caliber for deer hunting around here. And I've always shot 150 grain. Now I know, I hear people out there swear up down. Yeah, that gun's made for 130 grain, you got to use 130 grain. Well, problem is everybody else around here knows that 270 is a real popular caliber, that and like 30-06. So 150 grain was always more readily available. But this year, since I had to order ammo out, I ordered a new Winchester ammo. My gun shoots much better on Winchester ammo, so I don't know why. I've done Remington, Federal, and Winchester, but I tried the higher price ones. I'm not real worried about that, but I went with 130 grain with this extreme point, and I tell you what, I'll show you here. All right, now mind you, I was shooting 150 grains to start with. First shot, second shot, third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot. Fourth, fifth, actually third, fourth, I pulled, my fault. Fifth and sixth shot, I'm not touching it. So I went from here, I come down about 2.5 inches. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 2.5, 3 inches, and I'm not touching it from there. Again, that one was my fault. That was me pulling off the sandbagger a little bit, trying to get adjusted, and when I wasn't completely ready. But so this is about 104 yards is where this target is from the bench where I sat. So that's where I always sight in. So I'm not going to complain about that. And as far as grouping goes, you don't get much more straight line than that. And I know it's not a tight grouping, but I put 2 rounds down because cold bore, of course, your cold bore shot's going to be your first one, and that's it. So the second shot immediately right after that with no adjustment was right there. So then I brought it down, and then I brought it down again, and right there's where I ended up. So all except for that one pool mark. But that's it, 6 rounds, and I'm sighted in, I'm ready to go. So this is 104 yards, and my bench is way back here. All right. So that being done, now I just go home, give the gun a good wipe down, and we'll wait, put it away and wait for Monday morning. So now, all right, some topics to cover today. Now we went, I talked previously in one of the videos about getting like oil lamps and stuff like that, alternative forms of lighting, alternative forms of heating. It is alternative heat. You can really heat with a lamp. Not a large area, of course, but if you have to stay warm in a pinch, that's what one of your options are. So we went to a antique slash thrift slash secondhand store, and I already have an oil lamp at the house, and I bought 2 additional oil lamps. And Walmart didn't have, they were out of the lamp oil, and they have the, I think it's 64 ounce, just shy of a gallon. They have the 64 ounce bottles, and I think they have them for like $8. They were out, and they only have the wicks, the 1-inch cotton wicks, 1 inch wide for those oil lamps. They have a pack of them in there, like 7-inch strips, so they're not real big. I can't remember how much they were there. I got on Amazon. Now the lamp oil for a gallon was like $25, and I wasn't about to pay that much for it and order it from Amazon. But I got 32.5 feet of 1-inch cotton wicks for $16. It'll be here probably next week. That's 32.5 feet, not 32.5 inches. They had the 6-foot wicks, 6-foot roll wicks for $9. And turn around, I scrolled over to the next page, and that's the thing about Amazon. If you go back a couple pages, you're probably going to find better deals. And even though this was, I think it's 32.5 feet for just shy of $11, and then it was almost $5 shipping, still for $16. Look how much more I've got. What, 5 times the amount of wick I'd have got for $9. So I don't think I'll run out of wick anytime soon. Not that I plan on, going completely to oil lamps as my only source of light, but if we need to, it's there. The other part of that is having that availability. Now, the wife, actually, while she was out today, because she took the day off because she has some errands and stuff to run and all this other stuff, and she's got a bunch of time she has to use up before the end of the year. She stopped at one of the other Walmarts and she bought a pack of, I think, 100 or 200 tea lights for next to nothing. And then she got a pack of 8 of the tall, skinny taper candles, and got a pack of those for like $4. And those are things we're going to put away. And what I'm going to do in my pantry is, we do this later on, I'll show you. There's just so many things that we need to get done right now. It's hard. It's easier for me to sit here and tell you about them before we can actually get time to do them on video. But this will kind of help give you an idea of supplies and stuff to get ahead, get a hold, or pick up in the meantime, if you are into this lifestyle. And if you're not, man, I can't emphasize it enough. But, so candles, make sure you got good long burning candles. Make sure you got matches. Dollar Tree, go to Dollar Tree. They have the big boxes of matches, like the big, I think it was a 500 count for $1. And then you can get the packs of the, I want to say they're 50 matches in a box, and there's a box or a pack of 6 or a pack of 4, I can't remember, for $1. Your tea lights you can get a lot cheaper than there, so don't waste money buying tea lights there, tea light candles. But you get matches there. They have shelf stable milk in, I want to say it's a half-gallon box, and I know that doesn't sound healthy at all, doesn't sound right, but it's truly shelf stable milk, and I think it's good. Ours, the ones that we bought 4 boxes of it, and it's true milk. It's good until August of 2020. Now, that's the best buy date. I'm sure it'll last longer than that, and we will use it as it gets closer to that expiration date. But that is our milk, already shelf stable, already liquid, shelf stable. You don't have to refrigerate it. Now, once you open it, I would highly recommend you refrigerate it. And I haven't really read it to see if that's what you should do, but I would. Having that opportunity to refrigerate it, I would. But it may not be necessary, and I won't swear to it yet, because honestly, I can't remember. Like I said, I didn't take time to read much on it, but I do know that it is shelf-stable milk. And I had that stuff years ago when I was in the Army. We were down at over at Fort Pickett, Virginia, and it was the first time I ever had it. Of course, we're eating MREs, and if you don't know what an MRE is, I'm sure everybody knows what an MRE is, or at least heard of them. They're not terrible tasting, but oh my God, this was before the lighter version, lower calorie. Everything was fortified. Each bag was like 3,800 calories. You eat the fortified cheese with the crackers, or the fortified peanut butter with the crackers, and whatever else was in it, and you weren't going to the bathroom for a week. And that's no lie. I mean, you just, good Lord, those things were so calorie dense, it was just ridiculous. So, and of course, they're meant for combat situations and stuff. So they actually finally did at some point come out with a lighter, lower calorie version that wasn't as hard on you as that stuff was, because that stuff was tough, let me tell you. Still some good tasting stuff in there, but man alive, that stuff would just wreak havoc on your body. But I had it down there, and they come in like the juice boxes, and I got it. It was warm, and I thought, oh, this is spoiled. And when I talked to the mess sergeant, I said, hey, because I was a medic, and I talked to the mess sergeant, I said, hey man, I said, all your boxes of milk are warm. I said, they can't be good. And he goes, oh no, he said, this is shelf stable. And hold on a minute. So he said it was all, sorry, I got a call. He said it was all shelf stable. And once I read it and seen it, I was like, well, this is new to me. I've never heard of this, so okay, we're good to go. And I drank it, and it was a very heavy milk. And I don't mean like heavy cream, but it was just very filling. It was like a protein and fat shake all in one. So I drank that little juice box of milk and was like, I don't need any food right now. So but those are the kind of things that you want to have that are shelf stable, doesn't require refrigeration. Okay, so big topics. Infrastructure bill that they just passed was $1.75 trillion, I think, and that is to fix, I'm hoping, priority wise, I'm hoping it's bridges, roads, and electrical infrastructure. Our electrical grid nationwide is in a terrible mess. I mean, it's in an absolute terrible mess. Short of a nuclear blast or an EMP or something like that, a couple birds on the wrong wire could pretty much wipe us out. and not trying to sound funny, but like right now with the sun, the solar activity, I think they're called solar maximum, I think, and it's the activity of the sun, and the sun's waking up. It's coming out of solar minimum into solar maximum, and it's been putting out huge coronal ejections and solar flares and everything like that. And one solar flare could, when it hits the Earth, one solar flare could wipe out our whole electrical grid. It creates an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, and it can wipe out our entire electrical grid. And when I say wipe it out, I don't mean, well, linemen are going to be busy for a few weeks now. I mean, it wipes it out. The whole thing needs replaced, okay? Not splice a line here, splice a line there, fix this, fix that. There's a limb on the line. I mean, replaced. So you're pretty much crap out of luck at that point, because that's not something they're going to fix in any time, soon. You're going to look into a long time power down situation. And for that, you need to have alternate forms of light, alternate forms of heat. You need to have shelf-stable food. You need to have good long food stores. You need to have good, clean water. You need to have the ability to filter and boil water if you need to get your water from other than potable sources. And what I mean by that is if I need to go to a pond or a creek or somewhere and get water, I need to pour it through something like clothing, a t-shirt, something like that, to immediately filter out the big, obvious, visible stuff. And then I need to bring it to a high rolling boil and boil it for about 5 minutes. And that's going to kill all of the parasites, the Giardia, the Cryptosporidium, and all that other nasty stuff in there that'll make you sick. And then you can drink it, because you need to filter and you need to sterilize, okay? Now, you get into something like, China's been rattling its sabers. They're enriching their nuclear program. They just launched a ballistic missile, went all the way around the Earth. Russia just shot a daggone satellite out of space, scared the shit out of all the astronauts on the space station, International Space Station. They're up there ducking and covering, because Russia didn't say, oh, by the way, there's a missile on its way to blow a satellite out of space. They blew a satellite out of space and didn't tell anybody about it. So the advancement of those weapons and the rattling of those sabers, so to speak, from both of those countries, the potential for a nuclear event is very high again. And I hate to say that, being a Cold War veteran. I served in the military during towards the end of the Cold War. I joined in 1988, and I think it was somewhere 1995 or 96 or something like that. It was after they declared an end to the Cold War. And we're standing in formation one week in there at drill, and they started calling out names and raise your hand, and they come up to you and they handed me a certificate, Cold War veteran. It's the coolest thing I ever got, and I thought so. I mean, above everything else I ever got in the military, I loved that Cold War veteran certificate. I thought it was really cool. But living through those years and knowing, the Russians, because when I first went to basic training, our targets, our silhouette targets, were Russian soldiers. And no kidding, it was Russian soldiers in Russian type uniforms, and they had a red star on them. They had white gloves and a red star, and you knew to shoot between, and I want to remember this because they were holding a weapon like this, and I think it was you aimed between the two white gloves, and that would put you pretty much center mass in the target. And of course they had a red star, I think, on their helmet. So during that same time period, during basic training, they actually got rid of those and got the new targets up that were just plain dark green silhouettes. I don't know why, but anyways, the expectation, I guess, was a war with Russia, obviously. But during that time, we went through all that, and now it looks like it's starting all back up again. And the prospect of a nuclear event now, truly, if they detonated one up in the atmosphere, the biggest thing we would face immediately would be an electromagnetic pulse that would wipe out everything electronic. You can forget about it. I don't care, unless your home is a giant Faraday cage or you have a room that is built as a Faraday cage and have all of your electronics in that room. If not, everything goes. It's wiped out. Done. You can't fix it. It's fried. A solar flare, like I said, from the ejections from the sun now, that can wipe it out. If there was a nuclear attack and they did drop a bomb, say like on DC or something, which would be a normal target for them, DC or New York. Typically from here in West Virginia, they're east of us, so our weather comes usually west to east or south to north or southwest to northeast. And you wouldn't think much about, as long as we got a good easterly wind, or, you know, from the west to the east, we're going to be okay. But truly that's not the case, because you get that mushroom cloud, you get that column and then that mushroom cloud like that, and you're going to get fallout. And that fallout is all of the debris that is blown up and taken up into the atmosphere becomes radioactive, obviously. And as it comes back down to the earth, it comes down into that plume, and prevailing winds doesn't, they're going to shift it and they're going to take it in a certain direction, but it's going to fall over a wide mass area. And it's probably going to fall, if they would hit DC, it's going to fall probably as far back as, I say probably Indiana, Illinois, Indiana at the minimum, west, you know, Midwest there. So, you know, and if that would happen, you've got about 10 to 20 minutes to get your butt indoors and stay indoors. As long as you're out of the blast zone, the ground zero, and then out of the blast zone and the heat zone and all that other stuff, like here in West Virginia, if they would hit DC, within 20 minutes, no later than 20 minutes, I need to be indoors and stay indoors. And that is because that's about the time it would take that fallout to start falling back down to earth, and that would expose you to radiation. And, you know, once you get indoors, you get to the center of your house, and you stay away from door. You make sure the house is closed up, no drafts, no air blowing in, and you close that house up. And the longer you can stay indoors, the safer you are. So, you know, if you survive the initial blast, you have no exposures like that, and you can get your butt inside within 10 to 20 minutes, your likelihood of surviving a nuclear attack is very high, because, like I said, you're avoiding that initial radioactive exposure, which is at its highest point, and it's going to immediately start to degrade once it hits the ground. But, you know, if you could stay inside for a month, that's perfect. That's what you want to do. So you want to have, and that's why I always press food stores, plenty of water, at least a gallon to a gallon and a half per person in the house per day. Have it stored, or have a way to filter it. They have those bathtub blobs. It's a big plastic thing that goes in your bathtub, and you know, in case something like that happens, you put it in your bathtub, turn the water on, it fills that blob full of water. That becomes your potable water. So unlike going out here to my pond or a mud puddle or something on my property and getting my water and bringing it in and filtering it out and then boiling it to get the critters and stuff out of it, the microorganisms, in a situation of a nuclear fallout like that, none of that's going to help. Because, you know, even if I do filter it and boil it, the radiation's still going to be present. I have no way of getting that radiation out of that water, because it's surface water, it's open contamination. So pretty much anything that's a river, a stream, a pond, a puddle, a reservoir, a dam, anything like that is going to be contaminated. If you have a large enough open well where the contaminants get down in it, yes, it's going to get contaminated. But probably the best thing you would have is a spring back in the side of a hill, that you can actually get back into, or, you know, have already piped that water as it immediately comes out. Is probably going to be your safest water to drink. And not saying it's not going to have any contamination or radioactive contamination to it, but it's probably going to be your least likely, because it comes from up underground. And that contamination is going to be surface, and eventually it will work its way down into, you know, water tables and stuff like that, but it's going to take an awful long time for that to happen. And probably before it gets that far, it's going to be washed off anyways. It's going to turn into runoff, because, you know, you pull off a nuclear blast, and I mean, what it's going to do to freaking weather patterns is going to be probably unimaginable. But that aside, like I said, these are the threats that we always have. And, you know, some of them pop up and become more prevalent at times than others. So, you know, Australia, of all places, is now building nuclear submarines. 2021, they've never even bothered with it. Now all at once they're building nuclear submarines. Something's going on. I don't know what. Like I said, I'm not here to fearmonger anybody, but what I am here to do is encourage you and teach you. You need to prepare. You need to have those food stores. You need to have non-perishables. You need to have you know, good clean water sources. You need to have good clean water set aside and stored in your home. You need to have alternate forms of heat, of light. Just imagine it, okay? Think of your everyday life. You need duct tape. You need toothpaste. You need tampons. You need feminine hygiene products. You need razors. You need shaving cream. You need soap. You need this. You need that. I mean, you need all this stuff. You need toilet paper. You know, if not toilet paper, then and once I find these things, if I can find them around here, I'm going to get some. I don't want to order them because online they're so expensive. They're called compressed towels. I'm being stalked by a chipmunk. They're called compressed towels, and they're little discs about that big around. And here I am with that sign again. But they're little discs about the size of probably less than the size of a quarter, and it's a compressed little disposable hand towel. And I think they're moistened slightly, and you can use those to wipe with if you have to. And they don't take up any space. I mean, they take up literally the space of a quarter, just about that thick. And you can get a bag of like 200 of them for 20 bucks on Amazon. And supposedly some of the dollar stores have them, but I haven't seen them yet. But that would take the place and be used alternatively to help clean yourself if need be, to wipe if you have to, you know, if you're running low on toilet paper, or if you have limited space to store stuff. And that's the big thing right there, is because, you know, toilet paper packs, they take up a lot of room. And I can get bags of those. It's about, I don't know, about that big, probably, I don't know, 16, 24 or 24 ounce bag roughly. And there's enough in there. There's 200 of them in there. So that's 200, that's 200 swipes if you need it. in a bag, and not taking up all that space as like a big toilet paper pack would. But like I said, you guys, I can't emphasize enough. There is so much. There is a world of wisdom and information out there on YouTube and even on Google. And I hate to kind of sound like that because, you know, being more practical as I am, I have learned so much from these you know, YouTube channels and from Google and just reading stuff. And that's, I'm a knowledge sponge. I love to learn new stuff, and learning all this stuff and you know, different ways and different tactics to, you know, store and what to store and how to put it away and everything like that. You got to have it. I mean, it's fantastic to take the time, and nobody wants to sit, well, I'm not one to sit in front of a TV all the time. My job is sedentary. So for 8.5 hours a day, unfortunately, I'm stuck in front of a laptop. But when I get a chance, I do like to watch those kind of stuff, those videos, to learn that kind of stuff. Baking soda is always a good thing to have. Bleach is always a good thing to have. There's so many practical applications for that stuff in a post or a shit hit the fan situation. Shit hit the fan is a disaster. Okay, you guys have heard that. So if you hear me say SHTF, that's shit hitting the fan, and that's just basically slang for all hell's breaking loose. Okay. If you didn't know that by now, which I'm sure most of you would if you watched this long enough and heard me say it several times. But, you know, like I said, and now we're looking at, what was it? China just had like historical flooding, their winter flood, and it was just massive, I guess, like off the charts. We've had, here in the U.S., we've had record droughts, we've had record fires, we've had record weather all year in the midst of a pandemic. So, you know, the potential is high. It's higher than it's ever been for something to occur that we're going to be dependent on food stores and our waters and our own self-reliance and self-sustainability. And like I said, with winter coming, man, you got to look at alternative forms of heat. You got to make sure you got your shit together, because if you don't, there's a ton. There's more people out there not prepared than there are people who are prepared. And guess what's going to happen when everybody who's not prepared realizes shit has hit the fan, and now they're rushing to the store to buy up everything that they think they're going to need? Guess what? It's going to be a battle royal. There's not a Black Friday event that's even going to hold a candle to what's going to happen, because the first thing people are going to go for in a situation like that is going to be food. And guess what? If you thought toilet paper was bad, if you thought Lysol was bad, and people were grubbing that up and hoarding that stuff, wait until it's food. And that's when people are going to get terrible, more terrible than what they already are. People are going to become way more evil, that the true nature of these people is going to come out, and it's going to come out terribly. They will do anything they can to promote their own self-survival and their own self-sustainability, and whatever they think that they need, they're going to take, and they're going to hurt you or anybody else that gets in their way of doing that. And that's just the reality of it. And folks, if you don't think people are like that, I can tell you from 30 years experience in healthcare, it's only getting worse. And that doesn't mean it's not so bad right now. That means it's freaking terrible right now, and it's only getting worse. So, you know, again, I can't overemphasize enough. Get your food stores going. You need at least 3 months worth of stuff from today. And I said 3 days before, and I said do 3 days at a time. You should already have 3 months worth of stores. You should not be that far behind if you're seriously contemplating it. If you're sitting there going, yeah, I probably should. Yeah, I probably should. Yeah, this is like the 6th or 7th video Mike said where I should be doing this. You're already way behind. And you should have at least 3 months worth of food and water stores in your home You should have alternate light sources, alternate heat sources, alternate communication, alternate energy options, like little solar panels on your emergency weather radio that you can charge, or a little hand crank on that weather radio so you can charge that radio, charge your devices and stuff like that if they're still going to work. But you need to have that ability to do that. You know, like where I live, I don't expect roaming hordes of outlaws. At least not immediately, okay? That's going to happen in the cities. And these people who live in these urban environments, like the big cities, like, and we'll just use New York as that example. New York, Philadelphia, things like places like that where there, you know, there's huge population densities. That place is going to hell immediately. Immediately. You know, riots, looting, burning, killing. People are just going to be doing what they need, what they want to do. The complete and total lawlessness. And they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. I mean, you think about it. These people are encased in steel and concrete and asphalt, period. There's no escape for them. Every street, every route, they're not going to be jumping from building to building, man. They've got surface movement only, and be it on top of the ground or in the subways, guess who else is going to be there? Everybody else. So their chance of escape, maybe in the first couple hours, maybe in the first 6 hours max, is going to be their best chances of getting out of there. But take into consideration, you've got 5 million people trying to do the same thing, and then you've got the lawless buttholes out there doing their thing, tying others up, hurting others, you know, preventing escape, preventing this, preventing that. Here, if I take off, there's nobody in my way. If we decide to take off, there's nobody in our way. And we don't have to depend on public transportation. Roads don't even apply at this point, because I don't need roads. I don't need paved roads. I don't need gravel roads. And I'm not gloating and I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you, this is where I chose to live, where I grew up. This is the place I chose to stay. And I can't think that I could possibly be blessed anymore that me and my family live where we live in the event that something bad will happen. Because there's not a lot of people around here. And I'm not worried about... there's going to be some, and eventually they will show up, or they'll make their way through. But we're such an off the beaten path. I mean, even though I'm 8 miles from the interstate in 2 directions, we're still far enough off the beaten path, and there's enough land and ground between us and other little roads and directions and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it would be a concern soon, but not immediately. And like I said in other videos before, is there are very close friends of ours who are veterans, law enforcement, current, active, retired, and they know to pack their shit and get to here, because this is where we will hold out. But that aside, like I said, I'm not sitting here trying to make myself out to be some kind of survivalist, or, you know, what's his name on the movie Tremors from the 80s, who's got the bunker set up and everything. But we are tucked in the hills and hollers here, hence the name Hills and Hollers Homestead. Guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. The sun's already down. I'm sitting here, guns all sighted in. I'm ready to get some fresh venison, the original fast food, in the freezer next week, and I hope to put a couple of them in there. Take care of yourselves, get those preps going, get yourself caught up, make a list, get organized, and get yourself, you know, prepared for whatever may come. And if it doesn't come, you know what? That's a blessing on top of itself. And if it doesn't come, now you've got a bunch of food to eat and drink off of. For a couple months, you can save yourself some money. All right, folks, give us a like, give us a comment, tell us what you think. If there's any other topics you guys want to cover, or you want to hear me talk about or cover, there are some how-to videos coming up very soon. I promise you that. We're just trying to get organized and get everything else done in the meantime. Subscribe to our channel, hit that bell icon so you get notified when new channels or when new videos come out. Thank you guys. God bless you, and take care.